Good evening, Americans. This is your favorite alien. Here on the evening of Saturday, June 25th, 2022. And I want to update the video I did earlier on Justice Thomas's second opinion on that he wants to reverse those other two cases from 1965 that established contraception. And, Casey case and the Roe versus Wade case. He hates them because of what he calls precedents under the substantive clause of the 14th Amendment. He's an African American. And he's quoting the substantive clause of the 14th Amendment. Why? Because that clause created the Dred Scott decision before the 14th Amendment was even created in 1857. And the Supreme Courts of the 1860s through the 1900s used that substantive clause to water down the 14th Amendment and thus create Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896, thus segregation, equal but separate. And that's probably what Mr. Thomas, he calls himself Justice Thomas, he stops to be justice as soon as he made that comment yesterday on his ruling, meant to be. How could a person especially being an African American, be against the substantive clause which governs the 14th Amendment, which was watered down and established segregation for you African Americans? It was also the clause that President Roosevelt used as part of Executive Order number 9066 in 1942 against the Japanese. See what I mean about your 14th Amendment? If you look at it differently, and especially that substantive clause on the 14th, if you look at it one way, you water it down. If you look at it another way, you water it up. You African Americans benefited from the watering up and were hurt from it watering down. The Japanese have been hurt. A lot of American citizens have been hurt from the courts using that clause and watering it down. Are you going to stand by and have an African American quote, supposed to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, use that argument in overturning Roe versus Wade? Why? Do you other justices who voted on the 6 overturns, do you use that same argument to water down those cases, and what are the cases that coming up that he wants to be overturned against contraception, same-sex marriages, and gender? That is violating civil rights. That amounts to the same thing that the so-called redeemers in the Democratic Party did in the 1880s to 1900 when they used the Plessy versus Ferguson argument of the Supreme Court. Is this what you want, Americans? Really? I think so, because none of you have taken them to task. This is your favorite alien saying, boy, you guys have watermelons for brains. Good day.